Barry Suter has contributed this week's edition of Te Ohanga Māori column, commenting on the dynamics of the Māori economy. Barry is based in Tairāwhiti, East Coast, and is a director of several companies, including creative technology business Toro Studios. Kia ora, Barry.
Morena.
So, thanks for contributing the column this week. Given your plenty of involvement in the tech sector, you've sort of pointed to where there might be a bit of deficiency in terms of the diversity of investment from the Māori economy or into the Māori economy into tech businesses. What's really the disconnect between investment and the tech sector?
Oh, look, the Māori part of the tech sector economy is pretty much suffers all the same dynamics as the mainstream tech sector. And as we all know, New Zealand tech startups are SME and early stage. And so they're really at that critical point of, looking for their first, investment. And it's in that formation time. They're really beating down part of the startup phase. That's the challenge for them. Often these entrepreneurs may not necessarily have significant experience internationally. They often it's often their first startup. Tech being a much easier entry into the startup world and startup land, and so they're challenged on that very early stage of investment, just getting enough cash flow and traction in the particular markets that they're trying to focus on, and often don't have that sort of wider world experience of doing international deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation where you need experienced people, but you can't get experienced people till they've been through that startup phase.
Oh, absolutely, and and the world of startup entrepreneurs is doing 100 things. At a time. Some of my troops asked me on the Toro Studios proposition, what's the title I wanted, and I just said to them, well, you can call me the sweeper. And they said, what's that? And I said, well, it's a Māori term. And what it means is it's a person who walks around with the broom at the marae, keeping an eye out on all of the activity going on right across the marae, from doing hanging at the back right out to speaking on the oratory bench at the front, looking at the gap and filling it in a second when it's needed, so that the whole running of the hui looks seamless. And I said, that person we call the sweeper back up here in the coast. And it's a position of honor, because it means that you've got specialist skill across 15 functions.
Another sort of mindset change that you mentioned in the column is around seeing New Zealand as being at the bottom of the world, whereas a lot of the Polynesian navigators were all about looking at the horizon, and that's something that's really important for business people and especially tech business people, to be sort of always looking for the possibilities out there. How do we practically sort of go about that mindset change?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a bit of branding, and I think it's a bit of leadership. We've got some good leaders in government, but I don't think their message necessarily resounds in the target audiences that it should. Let's be honest. Most of the MPs are not haven't done international tech startups. So it's really hard from a credibility point of view to listen to somebody lecturing you on building business when you're on your sixth business and they've never done one.
Mm.
And then the corollary is that through the MPs, it goes through the particular government departments down to your third, fourth, and even sixth level managers interacting with you. And again, you're having to take advice on how to build a business and how to run a business from people who just got out of university. So there has to be a change in the leadership mindset at the top of the country that makes this an important priority and strategy for the country. We only need to look at Ireland for a great example of that. a lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people would say Ireland's an artificial example because, it had a 17% tax rate. It also had a unique whakapapa relationship with America, whereby Americans, are fast-tracked visa-wise into the US, into the Irish economy. And and what they call the investment by Irish all around the world back into the home country, into companies and that sort of thing once they're successful overseas. So that makes it a little bit different. But the killer thing that they have in Ireland is they have a 50-year-old strategy that was led for 35 years by one single civil administrator. So as every prime minister and president changed, the strategy was carried by the same civil administrator leader. The guy's famous, and if you go to Ireland and you go and have a look in their deep tech environment, you'll find that all the bodies around government and around education and around commerce in a town or in a place will all sing to the same song sheet. So there's a real consistent strategy being run there, led from the top. That doesn't require a lot of money to enact that kind of thing here in New Zealand. But I'm not seeing many tech entrepreneurs who have the time to run for Parliament.
Outside of Parliament, though, you also mentioned in the column, you argue that iwi organisations and Māori organisations should coalesce themselves, I suppose, to perhaps fill that gap, to provide investment.
Not just on the tech economy play. Māori coalescing their power has been a challenge all along. We have things like the iwi Leaders Forum, etc. But the irony is that post-settlement, a lot of those tribes had enough on their plate just trying to retain their compensation packages and build businesses off those. And some of them have done really, really well, but very conservatively. So the challenge to then expand your vision out of that to other iwi has been very problematic. Some could say that the fishing settlement, with Sea Lords was a good example of that. I'm not sure, because that benefited some people, doesn't benefit a lot of people. And if we think that society is enabled by having funds flow from revenue from customers in international markets, then the way to focus on that is a different one. And so I think we just don't have a culture of entrepreneurship like other countries. And possibly that's just due to the kind of origin that we had in terms of farming and that sort of thing. But Ireland's a classic example. They were exactly the same kind of country, with pretty much the same kind of population, but subtly different because they were occupied by a colonial warmonger, and so they had some different challenges, but they were close to the market and those sort of things. So I think, look, the examples all around the world there. There's Israel and that sort of thing. The scale is different, but they've been able to do it.
Okay, well, it's a fascinating read. Thank you so much for contributing it, and we look forward to more in the future. Thanks for your time today.
No worries.